what it is. How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Bob's Burgers, the movie. We're going to be talking about all the things. We're going to talk about the burgers, all the kids and their adventures, paying loans back, singing and dancing. It's going to be a grand old time. Also, you know, this podcast is resident to one of the biggest Bob's Burgers fans. So we're going to have a lot to say. And if you want to hear what it is we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and tune on in to the First Ones to Die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're doing great on this wonderful Monday or whatever day you're listening to us. We just appreciate that you're listening, morning or night.
Welcome to June.
Yes.
Damn, it is June, ain't it?
It's June. Happy Pride Month. Happy unofficial start of the summer season. Yeah, it's an exciting month.
Happy all around.
Happy all around. And Alex, since you're happy all around, how was your week?
Well, I never said that, but my week was not bad. Just did more designing, kind of learning some new trades of the trick of the trades. That's a good word. But it's been a pretty calm week. The tricks of the tricks. I don't know if that sounds okay. But it's been a pretty good week. I just finished editing our bookcast, so look out for that book review coming up soon. Probably before this.
Hacienda.
It was still such a good book, and I still loved it. So I do love it so much. So, but other than that, nothing really exciting going on for me this week, other than getting to see the movie we're about to review in theaters. How about you, Jerome? How are you doing?
I'm freaking out, staring into my own eyes on Zoom because the light's hitting it in a way where I can see brown, like the brown in my eyes. I forget my eyes are brown. I don't look at my eyes very often. I'm having an existential crisis right now. I don't know what's going on.
You're like when
do you ever look in? I was gonna say, do you ever look in the mirror and just disassociate?
You're like one of the cats who see themselves in a mirror for the first time and was like, oh God, I'm a cat. I forget my eyes are brown too, actually, because like I have very dark eyes. So like sometimes I like will catch them in like really bright light and be like, oh, that's right, you're brown eyes. They're really brown too. But other than your issues, what's going on?
Anyway, be on the lookout. Hold on. First of all, this ASMR for you. There we go. Cracking into this wild ASMR cherry Pepsi. It's delicious.
We were missing that from our channel.
That's right. But other than that, though, the delicious beverage, things are good. Been watching a lot of shows. Just finished the season 2 of Undone, which is so crazy. Also, I finished a lot of stuff actually.
I've never heard of that.
Undone, it's such a good show
because the marketing for it is trash, but the show is so good. It's weird. Like nobody, because I didn't know there was a season 2 until I was just like randomly like, oh yeah, Undone. I wonder if that's still on Amazon Prime. And that's like season 2, new episodes out. I'm like, since when? Where was the trailer?
So that's like you when I mentioned the Brothers Garcia. It just dropped out of nowhere.
So, but it's good. If you haven't watched Undone, it's really good. It talks a lot about time travel and stuff like that. But the animation style too is super good. It's really crazy good and unique. So if you like kind of the animation stuff, kind of like Arcane or like Spider-Verse, where it's that like drawn on style, but in this one it's paintings. It's more painted on style. It looks beautiful.
It's a trippy show.
So I just finished that. Just finished Love, Death and Robots Volume 3 a little while back. Still good. I like it. I like a good anthology animated show. Just started Outer Range because I didn't know what it was about. It seems it's all right. I'm gonna stick with it for a little bit. I don't know if I like love it just yet, but a lot of people really like it. So I got a lot of TV shows I'm doing, or watching. Life-wise though, everything is good. I'm having a good time. Just been very busy, but hopefully that'll change soon. Or rather, my busyness will be stuff I actually like really want to do as opposed to just my job. So
Right.
we'll see.
How about you, Jonathan? What's going on with you?
Yes. This week was pretty good, pretty chill. I had 2 days off,
Nice.
which was nice. It was a 4-day weekend. Even though like today, Friday, when we're recording this, it feels like this Friday is earned, even though I only worked 3 days this week. But that's all right. I'll take the weekend. And I started last week a show for the first time in a minute. I've been able to watch too many shows, but I started The Staircase on HBO Max.
That title always throws me off for that show, where it's like, what's the show about? A lady fell down the stairs. What's the show called? The Staircase.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of the Slap a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, the original, the title of the documentary that came out like in 2006, 5, something like that. It was called The Staircase Murder, I think. Staircase Murder.
Oh wait, so this is really about a woman falling down or getting pushed down the stairs, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I thought you were just being Jerome.
No, that's actually what the story is about.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wasn't just.
It's a true crime story, but in the one that's on HBO Max, it's like the retelling of it. It's the fictionalized version of it. So it stars now I'm forgetting everybody's name. The woman from Hereditary and the guy from Kingsman.
Oh, Toni Collette.
Toni Collette and Colin, what's his name?
Firth.
Colin Firth. So it stars them, and it's a really good show. And I've been enjoying it. It's very dramatic. So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to watch the documentary after this to see exactly like what they kind of, played up, what they didn't talk about. So it's been a ride so far. And I think the final 2 episodes are coming out this week and next or something like that. So I'm excited to watch them. Also earlier this week, it was Marilyn Monroe's birthday. So for work, I went to a Marilyn Monroe birthday party, and there were Marilyn Monroe lookalikes. And one of the lookalikes is a previous survivor, a 2-time Survivor player. And she won the lookalike contest, which was cool.
I kind of want to watch that episode. Do you know if she like looked like Marilyn Monroe while she was on Survivor?
She looked like Marilyn Monroe while she was on Survivor too, I think.
I kind of want to see that.
Correctly. Yes. Her name's Sugar.
Her name is Sugar?
It's Sugar.
Yes.
Her stage name or like?
I am not sure. I think that's her stage. I think it's her stage name.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yes. And then we watched what were you gonna say?
Nothing. Mumbles. Don't. Go ahead.
We watched a Marilyn Monroe movie called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. And that's where she sings. Oh my goodness. Jeez. Gibson just like creeped up on me and sniffed my leg. And all of a sudden I just feel this tender nose up against my leg. It's like you and Snowbell with, I think you've told the story on the podcast.
Yeah, where she snuck up on me while I was in the shower though. Which is like 10 times worse.
More vulnerable.
Yeah.
You're so private.
It's such a private moment. I don't privacy.
That's why I like having Cheddar. Tony Baker tells a joke about that where he's like, you don't want to get scared in the shower when you're all wet and lathered. You don't want to get scared lathered up,
Well, like, yeah, because like soap is slippery. So if you like fall or you're trying to run away, it's gonna end up looking like a Scooby-Doo cartoon. You're just running in place and you just slip and sliding everywhere. Although it might be harder for somebody to try to capture you, because like
that's true, because
you can't get a hold.
Don't have enough friction.
That's why I like to keep Cheddar in view at all times when I'm here.
So he doesn't sneak up on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm watching out.
But anyway, in the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, that's the movie where she sings Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
I honestly haven't seen any Marilyn Monroe movies, and I need to.
That was my first too. Yeah, and it was like she was a great actress. The movie was hilarious. Like I was dying laughing, and I wasn't expecting to. It was so funny. The movie, and it was a musical comedy. It was super hilarious, and I wasn't expecting to laugh that much. And she was funny. Like she was super funny.
Yeah, and I've always heard really good things about her acting and how like down to earth she was, and how present Marilyn Monroe was working with other actors and people on set. There was never really a heavy negative story, well, regarding her acting career around her. And she was always very fun. It was so like yeah, I should watch one of her movies. That's something I should do this weekend.
I recommend it.
My favorite old-timey movie is always Some Like It Hot. Just something about that movie that's just great. Well, that movie's it's just a good movie. But anyway.
Well, the movie that we are talking about today is, Alex, I think you should give the introduction.
The Bob's Burgers, the movie, which came out May 27th. It is right off the bat, just I'm gonna go into what I love about it. It was cute, it was adorable. They didn't try to do anything too insane. They kept it within the plot, that so when the movie was over, it could still go back to the original show, and they didn't have to like add all these weird things. They didn't lose the characters. They didn't like, it was so well done. And like I just loved the movie completely. I went with my sister, her wife, and their roommate, which was all really fun. And I had shown you guys a picture of me eating popcorn out of my hoodie. I turned my hoodie around because you don't want to like interrupt people with the movie. Like if there's more than two people, it's like an interruption to have to like constantly have popcorn to be sent down. There's one time I sat in those chairs and I just had it here. Like I put like a bunch of popcorn here. I really should not be out with people.
You got to do what you got to do.
I have no social skills there. But no, I really enjoyed the movie. All the voice actors were there, and I just love it. I skipped over what you usually do, which is give a summary about the movie.
That's all right. You were eager, and that just shows your enthusiasm for the movie. So, well, in the Bob's Burgers movie, the Belchers tried to save the restaurant from closing as a sinkhole forms in front of it, while the kids try to solve a mystery that could save their family's restaurant. And like you, Alex, I enjoyed it as well. As someone who has never seen a full episode of Bob's Burgers, I've seen clips here and there, but I've never seen a full episode. This movie made me want to watch Bob's Burgers because it didn't do the thing that some movies that are adapted from TV shows or maybe like franchise movies do, in that they start somewhere like in the middle of the story. You would have had to watch season 5, episode 8 in order to get what they're talking about. It felt like I could watch this movie without having ever watched Bob's Burgers, which is what I did. And I would be fully on board with it. And that's what I appreciated. And they did a smart thing in providing this type of story for the audience. I'm sure there were references in there that were like callbacks to other episodes that I missed, but I felt like my experience wasn't hampered by not having seen the show yet.
I still can't believe you haven't seen it.
I've tried. I've seen it.
What about Bob's Burgers makes it look like that's something Jonathan would watch on his daily day-to-day?
It's a nice, fun show. Like,
okay,
that's it.
That's nothing about Bob's Burgers seems like a Jonathan type. Like, yeah, that Jonathan definitely watches this show.
What does that say about me then? What goes like
that just means it just means we're into
yeah.
different things. There are shows I'm like, Alex probably watches this show. Bob's Burgers ain't one of those shows where I'm like, yeah, Jonathan watches this. Like, unless you or I would introduce that to him. and be like, hey, you should watch Bob's Burgers. Come on, sit on down. Sit on the couch. Watch this episode.
It's a nice Sunday like show. You can just chill and watch Sunday night while you're just like trying to finish your dinner or just relax. So no, it is right. It's a show for everybody.
If this show would have come on, or if this show would have started when I was in like middle school or earlier, I could definitely see myself having this on and just like watching an episode here or there in the background. But I'm not, the things I have on usually in the background now is like the news. So
yeah. Way to be an adult. What about your thoughts, Jerome? What did you think of the movie?
And that's not to say that it's like middle school. Sorry, that sounded like this is a middle school kids show. So I didn't mean that. I meant like this would be my version. No, I meant.
I feel like it's safe enough.
I meant to like
this one is safe enough. You could have
middle. Yeah, this is definitely not as crude as some of the other adult shows. But this would be like my version of The Simpsons. Like that's what I would do with The Simpsons. It would just be like on the background. I would watch an episode here or there when it was on. So yeah, that's what I meant by that. Not that it's like beneath me or something like
that. Are you good now?
Yes.
You feel like you got.
I realized how that sounded. I was like, oh. Anyway, sorry.
I enjoyed this movie too. I think it was very cute. It reminded me a lot of the Simpsons movie. When I saw that for the first time, it was very adorable, especially all the songs, and the animation's so smooth. It did the same thing the Simpsons movie did do, which is that when the Simpsons movie came out, they were like, okay, we have a movie budget. Excuse me. We're going to do it up. Like, we're going to have this animation be like even tighter, a lot better shading, a lot better lighting. Like, it's going to look prime time. And Bob's Burgers is the same thing. Like, the animation on the movie screen just looks so smooth, especially when they dance and move. Like, it's for them to be like very because it's very cartoony, but it flows so smooth. Like, you almost feel like the way their models can look 3D, the way they move is really, really awesome actually. I was thoroughly impressed because I've seen at least some of Bob's Burgers. I think I've only watched one episode. I can't remember which one. But it's like that animation because it's on TV. Because on TV, like they can only get away with so much because they have like a time crunch. But this movie, it's like they're like, there is no time crunch. The movie's gonna come out when it comes out. So we'll just like put all of our love and effort into making this animation look as smooth as possible. So kudos to them. It looked really good. If I have a criticism, if any, it's just that like the Simpsons movie was like super high stakes compared to the TV show. And so it's like, it was like this epic movie. This movie, and it's mostly fitting with the show, is so low stakes for a long period of time that when it hit that middle portion, I was fading off just a little bit. I was just like falling asleep because I was just like, I know that the kids are worried about their various things. Like Gene's worried about his band. Tina's worried about her summer boyfriend thing, but I'm like, I'm sorry. It's not, I'm not as invested as these characters are in like how high stakes it is for them because they're just so chill. They're such chill characters. And it's mainly because the show has a dry wit to it. That's what makes it different than something like a Family Guy or Simpsons, which is like all energy all the time. Like Bob's Burgers is always pretty chill. It's a pretty chill show. So that was my only thing, but even then, it brought me back in once it hit the top of the third act and we got back into the main plot. So I would say like it's not a major criticism; it's just a minor thing. But overall, I still enjoyed the movie, though.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that was something that I was going to mention as well about the animation. The fact that the animation, like from the show to the movie, it's like, oh, you could tell this is movie quality. And that's what I love about some of these other animated movies. Like when they get that movie budget, you can tell exactly what they're capable of. Like with with the Simpsons movie, like with the SpongeBob movie, even like you can see exactly what they're capable of with the animation, and that was like the animation was. And I'm not usually like I don't usually like I don't usually focus in on those the animation details, but here I definitely did.
Yeah, I would agree with you both. Like I immediately noticed like it just looked cleaner. And I had thought that because I was like, there's not much changes. They're not suddenly more like 3D. They're not suddenly more, sometimes you can sell it goes from like the cartoon to the CGI style, which almost kind of felt like what they did with the Simpsons a little bit. They were like almost easing you into the CGI with the Simpsons movie. But here is just like it was just cleaner lines, bolder colors, better shot. Like they really just stepped up, and it was really cool to see because it just looked like this is a really nice version of it. It's not something too drastic. It's not something too much where you're just like, oh, they're trying to start up changing up the styles again. So yeah, I did actually take note of the animation, which I'm a little surprised by myself because I was like, oh, usually with the cartoon movies, I'm like, oh, they look very computerized.
Cartoony.
And that's it.
Oh.
They go from cartoonish to like computerized, and it's
right.
like, oh. But the dry wit thing, yeah, I think that's one of the things that brings me into about the show too. And the fact that it is a little more quote unquote realistic because they don't do the cartoon magic that like the Simpsons or Family Guy will do. Well, they'll just do these, out of these world or not possible moments because it's cartoon world, so they're safe and there's no consequences. They're a little more realistic, where they're just like, yeah, we're broke. We really just can't just do this because we're broke. Like we're broke. This whole movie is very fitting because one of the major topics is about repossession and them losing their restaurant, which is also a daily thing they talk about on the show where they're like, we do budgeted bouncing. Like they budget which checks will bounce enough that they can still have the item, but like they can pay it later. So,
they also don't have a talking pet, which makes it more realistic as well.
That's true too. Well, the Simpsons don't have a talking pet.
That's true, but on some of these other adult shows, they have a
they mostly have a talking pets.
Yeah,
which I would not want Cheddar talking to me. If a human voice comes out of him one day, like that, I don't know. I feel like I might have to check myself into a psych ward.
It's that thing of one day. What if your pet says, "Go ahead and tell. They'll never believe you," and then never says anything again?
I would, yeah. If I was an animal, I'd definitely do that. I would just learn to talk to do that. I would be not a nice pet to have. That sounds weird. I don't like how I phrase that. Going into spoilers.
All right, here we go. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and just came for our initial thoughts, then peace out. Follow us at The First Ones to Die. Give us 5 stars. Give us a like, subscribe. But if you have watched the movie or don't care about spoilers, then continue on with us. Alex, go ahead.
I loved it. I think it's cute how I thought it was a good idea the way they separated the issues at the beginning, like with Tina's wanting the summer boyfriend to be Jimmy Jr., Eugene. Eugene's, why does his name sound weird to me? Not Eugene.
Oh,
Gene. I'm saying his like birth name, Gene. I don't know why I was calling him Eugene. Gene's love of music and that horrible instrument he made at the restaurant, and then
napkins with the napkin dispenser with the spoon
with the plastic holders, yeah. And then it's interesting to see that Louise at the beginning, it was her fear of like losing her siblings because she knew what was important to them and they were just very separate issues from her own, and so she was kind of getting scared to be almost left behind, and then with everybody calling her a baby and her kind of being, I mean, even in her cartoon world, she is drawn small. So that's also like a fitting thing to, talk about because it's been brought up a couple times in the show about her not feeling always like, she belongs wherever she belongs, and like her family doing the best, being like, hey, you don't have to like girly stuff. Hey, it's okay if you wear the pink bunny ears. In this movie, you also get a little glimpse of Bob's mom, which I thought was really sweet. I wasn't expecting that at all because they mentioned his dad. They never once mentioned his mom in the show, or like talk about if she's dead, divorced, or what's going on. They actually don't confirm it either in this. It kind of
They
makes it
just show
seem
like
like,
a flashback scene.
yeah, it kind of made it seem like she is probably dead.
Right.
But yeah, you get a little glimpse of how Louise is like her grandmother, and I was like, oh, way to make me feel things. What about like you guys? Was there any particular moment or scene that you were like, I love this?
So I know Jerome, you mentioned that you were more drawn to like the first part versus the second part.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's just because the second part just feels like it's like I don't know. It felt like for me, it's like at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. What are we doing? Like because all of the plot lines just dropped off for a minute for them to focus on this mystery the kids are trying to solve. But even then, I'm like, okay, but what is Bob and Linda doing? Because we just forget about them for such a long period of time.
Yeah, I think for me, when it really kicked up, when I really started like I was enjoying the first part, and then once they got into like the secret underground bunker or whatever, what's it called?
It was a clubhouse.
That scene kind of ran a little bit long for me, and that's when
his villain monologue ran so long. It was just
yeah.
What's funny about
I'm sorry, Cliff Notes, my guy. Can you cut this down?
you know what's funny? I didn't watch that scene. I had to use the bathroom. So I bought tickets. I bought tickets for like everybody in the group. So they bought me like candy, and one of them got me like a giant icy, and I drank a good chunk of that icy, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna burst. So I didn't get to see the whole monologue. I did only catch the end. I didn't know it was that long. I didn't think I was
really long. It reminded me of, although he'll never beat. Have either of you seen Stranger Things 4 yet?
No, I'm not gonna watch it.
He'll never beat the villain in that. The villain in that monologue is like a goddamn whole near a third of the episode. It's just him telling the backstory and his evil plan and everything. I'm like, no one will beat you, dog. You taking the cake for the monologue record right now.
I wonder why villains have to do such a long monologue. I think if I was a villain, I would just be like,
well, it's because they've done not a great job setting up their backstory. So they not only have to give you their evil plan, they also got to tell you why they are doing their evil plan in the first place and how that's now led them to this moment. And now then that allowed them to then think about the evil plan they were going to commit. And now that they are committing it, what the plan is on how they're going to execute it and get away with it.
And then that gives the protagonist either A, time to escape, or B, it gives them an idea of what to do, how to combat them, because they just revealed their whole plan.
There is a Simpsons episode, sorry to keep it dry. There's a Simpsons episode where Homer works for a supervillain, Mr. Scorpio, and then like their James Bond character gets away for a second and Homer tackles him. And he's like, okay, like take him to be killed. And the guy and James Bond is like, wait, don't you want to reveal your evil plan to me or something like that? He's like, do you think I'm stupid? And then you just hear like the guns off camera, and you're just like, oh, that saves a lot of time if you just
see. That's always my thing when I watch shows when the most egregious one is Captain America: Winter Soldier, where Captain America is captured on the highway, and the Winter Soldier's about to kill him, or somebody's about to kill him, and then Frank Grillo comes by. He's like, "No, not here." I'm like, "Why? We're already bad guys, and he's a fugitive. Just shoot this man. He is a superhero. Like he took out a whole elevator of us and a plane with a shield. We cannot trust that we could just contain this man. Shoot him now and save us some time." What are you doing?
Honestly, what were you saying? Go. Sorry.
I was just gonna say. So that scene in the bunker, it went a little long. Alex, you left at the right time because that was definitely the longest scene in the movie, and that was when I was like kind of like you fading. I watched this movie at 5 p.m. after a work day, so during that scene, I was fading in and out a little bit, as Jerome would say. But once they got out of there, and once they were like getting chased around, once they were actually,
Once the action started.
Yeah, once the action started, that's when I was like, okay, yes, I love this. But then it ended so quickly. I was like, no, I kind of wanted some more. So that part was really fun, and the beginning was really fun. It was just that bunker part that went a little bit too long for me.
I think what it is that because I like the whole time I was watching this, I was wondering because Double Toasted made a point when they reviewed this movie, and I thought about it the whole time. Yeah. Even though I was trying my best to just be like unobjective watching into the movie, but I thought about it the whole time. I'm like, does this need to be a movie? Because there's so many parts that feels like they're just dragged out stuff that if this was in an episode, just a regular episode of Bob's Burgers, it'd be so much tighter, be so much cleaner. But then I'm like, the animation's really good though, and I really enjoy a lot of the. Even though the musical segments aren't necessarily necessary, they're fun. They're cute.
But they're very on point for Bob's Burgers because even in the show, they have musical numbers. They literally just randomly break out into song all the time.
I loved the style. They hired some good songwriters because the style of the musical numbers, I could see those on Broadway. Bob's Burgers on Broadway. Wow, the alliteration too.
I would
Bob's Burgers on
go. So like I would jump on the next plane to Broadway.
But it's like, so I think that's where it was for me, where I'm like, there are definitely some segments where I'm like, I feel like this movie could be tighter even. But it's like, it's hard to say because it's like, for me, I'm like, I'm the type of person where I'm not a huge fan of this property. So there might be things in here that for someone who is, this is perfect. Like it's the perfect length. It's the perfect jokes. It's perfect. Like it's exactly what they were expecting. I'm coming into it as like a moderate, like not even moderate, like a minor fan of this property. So
now you know how it feels.
What you say with like a grain of salt.
Now you know how it feels, Jerome. I'm gonna correct you now all the time on this episode. No, you're right. Being a bigger fan, I fell more in love with it. I found it actually a good time frame. You're right. There were certain parts where I was like, oh, this is kind of dragging a little bit. But then again, that always happens in about every movie you've ever watched. There's always just a down point where they're trying to put the clues together themselves or trying to, have that moment where they're just sitting around being like, all right, this is what we know and kind of recap everything.
Well, it's just like, for example, like the Carney chase for the cart. I was like, I mean, I this is a fun scene. I don't know if I'd have it be this long though, before they find the kids' bikes and they're just like, oh, the kids, and then they join them. So it's like, it's stuff like that where I'm like, I feel like that could be tighter. But at the same time, it has some of my favorite jokes. I love when he has the cart and he's just like, we don't have a permit to sell food out there. He's like, yeah, and like, no, we could do it. It's like, are y'all ignoring the fact that I just said we don't have a permit? Like, y'all not hear me?
That's exactly what it's like between like Linda and Teddy, and that's one of the bigger jokes. I always said I'm not a big fan of Linda because there's moments. Poor Bob, he's doing the best he can for his family, and Linda's over here being a pain in the ass. And like I'd be like, you shut up. We are not in a good position. You need to knock it off. And it was interesting because in this movie they actually had her lose hope for a little bit. When they got stuck in the sinkhole and everything did look bleak, she actually was like, she gave up.
She's always the optimistic person.
Yeah, and it was it was a little heartbreaking to see the optimistic person who annoyingly is always optimistic break down and be like, this is the end, and you're like, oh shit, man. They did have a bit of the sinkhole like play through this last season, so you knew what was going to happen with the way they kept having the little sidewalk start peeking up more and more, so you can tell like it was separating. And so they did do that really well where they just had it like that. So
that scene when they were trapped in the car in the sinkhole and buried alive, I was getting like a little claustrophobic. I was like, ooh,
I thought it was crazy. I was like, I didn't expect them to get this far. That's actually pretty fucked up.
If you watch the show regularly, that's actually not that surprising. They get into a lot of fucked up situations. And I don't know. I really like that they do. I
Also,
do. Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really, while we're on the topic of like the family as a whole, this family is one of the more likable families in television, like animated television.
Yeah.
They're easy to root for, unlike some other families that I won't throw names.
But Family Guy, that whole family sucks at this point. They've done a terrible job. They've done the only successful thing they've done with that family is assassinated any type of goodness that was in the family and the Griffin family.
Oh yeah.
And the Simpsons, they love each other, but there are a lot of times where you're just like, I don't know if like y'all are gonna stick together, because the Simpsons are just like, especially Homer, it's like he's a dad who strangles his son on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And is very unattentive to his wife, and especially his daughter. I don't even know if he knows what Lisa's got going on at any given moment in time.
There's a rolling joke that he forgets about Maggie like all the time too.
That too, yeah. They have a third child.
Who
the only person
you?
who acknowledges her is Marge, and that's because she has to take care of her.
Right, exactly. The dad in this is not one of those horrible dads. He's just like goofy and monotone.
Well, he's just worried about his business, because for him, it's like, it's not just about the business. Like, if I don't have the business, I can't take care of my family. Like, it's cool. He's very down to earth. Also, does H. John Benjamin do the voice for? I know he does the voice for Bob, but did he do the voice for Junior too?
Jimmy Jr.?
Yeah.
No, Jimmy Jr. I'm not.
It sounds like him, but like with a lisp.
I don't think it is. I would have to look that up.
I'll look it up while you talk.
Yeah, but that's like one of the big things I love about Bob's Burger. Oh yeah, he is Jimmy Jr. You're right.
Okay,
I took a look. No, I love the family because they're all so supportive of each other, and it does remind me a little bit of like my mom, me, and my sister, where I'll tell them sometimes I don't like you guys, but I love and support you. But like, I don't like you today, so like, I'm not really dealing with you all. And I feel like that's more realistic when it comes to like family relationships. You don't have to like your family. And I always do that. I do copy Bob because in the show he does say, "I love you, but you're all terrible. You're just all terrible." And I'll tell that to my mom. I'm like, "You're both are terrible. You're just terrible." And it's really nice to see the sibling connection in this movie, that it was still very strong, but they were able to keep the individuality of it. Because in the show, it's usually showing that, you know, Tina's kind of breaking off more, which is understandable because she's a teenager. And in the show, it does present it that way, where Tina, Louise and Jean are kind of still young, and they're like coming up to her being like, "Oh, we were doing this. What are you doing? What are you doing?" But this, they were really all together because they also saw something in Louise that she needed, because when she was getting called a baby, you could see that she had this fear of like definitely growing up and proving that she's brave, which is a thing, you know, a lot of kids fear when they're younger, if they're brave or not. I don't think I had that too much of a fear. I had ADHD. I didn't think about being brave. I just did stuff. Now I have impulse control. Now it's better. But
with Louise, I was just gonna mention, with Louise, I could deduce from watching the movie that it's a running thing that you never see her without her ears. I thought that was gonna be a thing in the movie, like we finally get to see her without the ears, but it didn't happen.
I like that they didn't, because it's still like her character. But we lost Jerome.
Okay.
But I did other year
now. I was just waiting.
I did like how they felt. I like how everybody reacted when they were talking about her ears. How like the teachers, Mr. Fawn was like, he's like, "All right, we don't talk about Louise's ears." And when they fell off, he's like, "Go get the puppets, go get the dolls, go get the therapy dolls." And she's like, "No, it's okay. They're just ears. Relax."
It definitely feels like Louise is she reminds me a lot of Stewie in Family Guy, where she's, even though she's supposed to be like a supporting character, she's clearly like the active character. At least in this. Like I don't know, I can't speak for the show. But in this for sure, I'm like, I know it's called the Bob's Burgers movie. It really should just be called the Louise movie, because Louise is the only one like
Yeah,
doing
she's kind of
most
the main character.
kind of the main character for a big chunk of this movie.
I thought because the character who I think, from my perspective, who I think like fans typically love the most is Tina, but she didn't have much of a role in this movie, and I was surprised about that.
I think a good chunk of people can relate to Tina and her awkwardness. I didn't have that type of awkwardness as a teenager, because I wasn't really into like boys and that type of thing. So I couldn't really relate to Tina. Louise, I could quickly be like, yeah, I was a little shit like that. So I think it's that people had that awkward stage as a teenager. So they're like, oh yeah, I can relate to Tina. It's just who you can relate to more. I think it's a lot harder to relate to Gene at times. Because sometimes I just find him gross.
Because Gene's just there. He's just there. Like he doesn't really have
there's been like multiple episodes where he has his own thing, but at the same time it's like, well, like you're not talented, you don't really have skills, and like everybody around you loves you and supports you. So it's kind of like, Gene, if you relate yourself to Gene, you kind of then start downing yourself. Am I really actually just really crappy at what I love? And people are just love and support me. Do I need to just move on? So like Gene has that feel of like he tries his best, but his best is not good. And I know that's a mean thing to say. Try your best. But still.
What did you guys think about our villain, Felix?
Well, Felix wasn't the villain.
Oh, what's his name? Teddy.
Yeah. No, Teddy's the
Teddy's the guy.
Wait.
Calvin.
No.
Grover. Oh my
there
God.
You go. There you go. Teddy is their best friend.
Their names are interchangeable at this point.
It's Calvin and I gotta tickle my dog. Calvin is the fish owner. Calvin and Felix, they're brothers. Grover is their cousin. He is the villain.
Are they normally in the show?
They pop in and out.
Okay.
Felix has recently just been like the last, after I think in the third season he appears, but fish owner, or his name is Fish Owner, but Calvin is the one who comes in and out because he's the landlord. And he has that villainous air to him, and that's purposely why they do it. He lives in that creepy old mansion. He has a eye patch. He often wears like a cape jacket going on in the show too. So like he has this flow of just being a villain. So it's like very simple to like paint him as a villain. And him and his brother are kind of assholes too. So like I like how
Grover new, or is he like always been in the show?
Grover popped up during this season for this movie, I'm guessing.
Oh, okay.
So because I was reading that this movie was delayed because of COVID. It was supposed to be released like at the beginning or right before COVID. So do you think that those episodes that are airing now, do you think these were supposed to air after the movie was released?
No. I think they probably had the movie ready and then they, got kind of pushed back, and then they're like, oh, we could probably make this work a little bit better. I think they had just now more time to fix it or clean it or present it in a more better way. Because like going back with like the Simpsons movie kind of, it had just popped up. There's nothing connection to the actual show in the season regarding that before it came out. And it was the seasons afterwards that had to follow through with what the show had created. So this was kind of a nice way to have like that flow. I think a lot of like animation shows miss, where it's like I'm able to go into the season being like, hey, I know these characters from the show. And like even with the sidewalk itself, it started to ease more and more. The sidewalk became its own little character. If you watch the season and you're like, oh, I can see it like going up, they thought about it more. So I think this kind of gave them a chance to like connect everything together more properly, or at least better than like I think a lot of animation shows have done. But Grover, recently he is the cousin. He is a family lawyer. He is the murderer. They've never done murder on the show. At least I don't think. We'll say Calvin
Never
and
gone
Felix.
full Riverdale.
I don't even know what Riverdale's going on there.
They have
Although Riverdale,
superpowers now.
They have superpowers now.
Yeah.
Riverdale's finally ending.
Good. Let it die. Walking Dead needs
I
to
would
be on
like-
that list too. They need to be in the line for that chopping
would-
block as well.
I would like to say really quick, Riverdale started off as a teen drama version or modern day teen drama version of the Archie comics. It has now ended with them being superheroes.
It's really weird.
I saw somebody on TikTok talking about that and they went through it and I didn't believe it. Though you were talking about the plot lines throughout the seasons, I'm like, this isn't real. They're making fun of Riverdale. But now you telling me that, I might believe them.
Yeah. This movie is I think that's cool that it like ties into the season. I liked the villain. I did think that monologue was gone on for way too long. But I'll give him this though. He's more effective than most villains. If it wasn't for the fact that he accidentally pushed them onto the sinkhole, he would have gotten away with it. Like his player, he was pretty clean. I mean, he got them into the sinkhole. He put the dirt on them and buried them. Like they were buried for sure. The two his cousins were definitely gonna die. Like the plan was set in motion. Everything was ready to go. So I'll give him this. He was about to get away with it, and it was like he's better than most movie villains.
And his air, just like his whole attitude while he was committing these horrible acts was just like, oh, okay, sorry about that, but hey, there you go.
It's a very
let me check on that. Yeah,
it's very polite for murder,
right? Which makes it even more like sociopathic. But
I don't know. I think it's like half sociopathic and half like, dude really hit the end of his rope. Because like Calvin and Felix don't know when they've gone too far because they're sociopathic too. The whole family, I suppose that whole family is just fucking nuts. I really loved how they involved Sergeant Bosco. And you guys don't know who that character is.
That was my favorite scene when they're like, it's like, you do know you have the police light still in your car, right? What? Oh, damn it. Your badge is on your dashboard.
and your coffee says Sergeant Bosco.
It's just like, it just kept making me laugh. I was like, oh my God. It's like, why are you guys bothering that nice police officer? No, it's not like that. Oh, he's just a regular guy. Never mind.
What I love is that one, they brought in the serpents. And that was great. I like that they gave a little wink to that. It wasn't too much like their involvement. It's just like, hi guys. Because it's like you're just passing them on the street. They're like, oh, we're here at a really bad, dangerous biker gang. How's school going, kids?
Oh, yeah, because they say they know those guys. They're like, oh, no, we know them.
We know them. We're friends with the leader. They used to babysit the gang leader's son now. So like I love how they did that and they intertwined the two because in the show, the kids too are friends with like criminals. And then they're friends with like these police officers or friends. Sergeant Bosco hates them, but like will still come to their aid so quickly.
They're civil.
I love that he's just so adamant about, I'm in robberies, but it's just as important as homicide. I'm just like, listen, dude. Either way, you're a cop too. Like no one's going to respect you either. Like don't stop trying to be cool. You're not cool.
Yeah. But like, and when he comes to arrest Grover, he's like, I got here before everybody else. Just saying, you're all there, but I'm here first. So this is my caller. So like the way he's just like, like another thing about the characters presented in the show, the side characters such as Sergeant Bosco, they kept them true to the characters they were on the show. They weren't like written more extravagantly. They weren't written as something like, oh, this is something you wouldn't think they do, but they're doing it for the movie, of course. They kept their characters, like true to the show form too. So it's like, hey, this is definitely something Sergeant Bosco would do. Leave all his police stuff out to just have like biker, oh my god, I can't even remember his name right now. The biker guy to be just like, oh yeah, that's we know that policeman. It's okay, it's fine. He's just hanging out there. He's not really a threat. So they kept everybody, they didn't make anybody more intelligent or stupider for this movie. Because I feel like in the Simpsons movie, they did make Homer more villainous. They made him more awful. And you didn't get that vibe from anybody in this movie. Except for like when Linda lost hope at the end, but then Bob, stepped up and was like, hey, you're supposed to be the hopeful one. If you can't be the hopeful one, fine, I'll be hopeful for both of us. And again, that's what I love about Bob. He is really like, he loves his wife and kids so much, and he wants to do so much for them. And it's just, the family dynamic is so sweet, and that he cares so much for his kids is adorable at times. He's like, I don't know what you guys are doing. Stop doing it, but let me know if something goes wrong. Like, don't hide from me. And they're not like worried about like hiding it. They're very open with their parents, which is also very cute to see. Because he's like, I don't think you guys should be telling me this stuff. Don't tell me this. What are you doing? What's the next plan though? So it's like, that's also a cute thing.
It's John Benjamin, great voice actor. I'm glad that he's still working. Like he's incredible. I love his voice work.
Yeah.
I love how you can distinctly tell between Bob and Archer, even though he does not change his voice for either one of those characters.
I mean, it's definitely
It's
with Bob,
the way
he
it's
sounds more
presented.
like
Tired. Sounds tired.
Yeah, he sounds very tired compared to with Archer. It's more like upbeat and very like high energy. Bob is all low energy, but it's because he's a dad running a restaurant versus Archer is this single jerk who thinks he's God's gift to the earth. Like, so.
I also want to watch that show Central Park. Oh, he's apparently in that as well, on Apple TV. Oh, it looks like it got canceled.
Oh, it sounded so disappointing.
Well, you can still watch it though. I mean,
yeah,
I know, but now I don't have 82 seasons to look forward to, like The Simpsons.
What show do you have 82 seasons to look forward to?
The
Simpsons will never end.
All right, well that's true. Yeah,
we will end before The Simpsons ends. Also, there was a Family Guy. Bob's Burgers.
I'm the same age as basically Marge and Homer are in the show.
Wow. Well, I guess at this point we all are. We're older.
Are you about to say Family Guy and Bob's Burgers has a crossover?
Yeah, but before that, we're older than Uncle Jesse was in season 1 of Full House.
Okay. That sounded like he said what? What?
It did. I thought that was one of us.
No, that was your dog.
Dog was like, God damn, y'all are old.
Gibson was like, shit. It's like when you tell it.
What?
I used to love telling like teenagers, I'm older than Google. You tell somebody that you're older than Google, somebody younger, they flip out. They're like, what does that mean? Like, I was there before Google was there.
Elmo. I need to listen to this back.
Yeah, it's just like when Elmo is just like sorry, Rock wanted to use the bathroom. What? Just like, just drops the whole Elmo voice, everything. He's just like, I'm sorry, what did you just say to me?
Oh my god.
By the way, those that are listening, that was fully my dog that just said what.
Gibson was like shook. He was like,
that was nobody on
this is the house
your
I
dog
am living
speak
on.
He was just so thrown off. He didn't know what to think or what to say. He was just like, are you for real?
Oh Lord. That was did he want you to throw the toy?
He's looking at you like Will Smith tonight. In that movie. He's just like, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Weren't we just talking about our dogs talking, our pets talking?
Your dog is getting sentient.
But anyways, yes, Jerome.
Revolution starts now.
Yes, Jerome. Because it says that Bob Belcher is in an episode of Family Guy called Trans Fat in 2019.
he is in an episode, and the joke is they're like, I forget what it is. I think it's Cleveland.
Oh, Peter learns an important lesson when he's mistakenly identified as transgender.
Bob's Burgers actually has been in Family Guy, has been in The Simpsons, and he has even been in Archer. Technically, Bob's Burgers has crossed into more shows than I think The Simpsons has, like, because they jump into the Family Guy, has them appear in their shows once in a while as like a joke.
Yeah, the joke always being like, yeah, they need us to carry them.
Yeah, but like Bob's Burgers has literally just appeared in like multiple different shows in like the background, or in one of the Simpsons intros, and that's the thing to think about, because like again, there is not a lot of hype to Bob's Burgers the way there is to like these other animations, but they've won enemies. They won enemies, Emmys. They won Emmys, and
probably
like,
enemies too. At that point, the other people in the category.
I'm sure. I mean, who wants to lose out to just a guy flipping burgers? Isn't that like a whole stigma around like the workforce?
Yeah, it has established a pretty solid cult following. Which I'm legitimately surprised. I remember when Bob's Burgers first came out, I was like, who's gonna watch this show? and now fast forward to they've gotten a movie and multiple seasons.
Right. So, I'm surprised Family Guy hasn't had a movie yet. That must be a choice. Like they must be choosing not to have a movie.
I don't know how they can make a movie of what.
Yeah, their format just doesn't fit itself to making a movie.
They'll make something out of it.
Their biggest thing was the Simpsons crossover.
Yeah, and even then, that was terrible.
They've been on at this point. They've been on for over 20 years.
Yeah, but it was that like. It got criticized like heavily too, the crossover episode, where they weren't criticizing Family Guy, they were criticizing The Simpsons. They're like, why are you lowering standards like that?
Because it wasn't a Simpsons Family Guy crossover. It's a Family Guy episode featuring The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Because all the things The Simpsons do in that show are things that would happen in Family Guy, not things that would happen in The Simpsons.
That's true.
Like at all. So it's like
they just got licensed to use their characters.
But that's the thing. That's why Family Guy, I don't know if they can do a movie, because Simpsons, like Family Guy relies on references. Like that show relies on pop culture to continue to run, versus something like a South Park. It has its own world. So we're not doing a bunch of cutaways. We could just be in our own world. Simpsons, same way. It's like, it's our own universe with our own characters and stuff. Family Guy can't do that. It's because that's not what the show is. Even the first episode, everything is always cutaways to reference this one pop culture thing real quick. So it doesn't really fit to make a movie format out of that.
Well, there was apparently a movie released in 2005 called Stewie Griffin: The Untold Story.
That was a TV movie.
It says.
Yeah, and those are different. Those are like adventures where it's Stewie and Brian normally going on some wacky adventure.
But it was still a lot of cutaways, because I remember that it was still just like cutaways. Then they had like Future Stewie, and then it was Future Stewie's cutaways. But going back to Bob's Burgers, they don't have a lot of like TV show references and stuff, other than like, and it's not even a real TV show, the Coochie Kobe, Her Little Nightlight, which I love. Yeah. And
it looks like the character from Final Space.
I think that's what it's meant to be.
Interesting.
Because they had a drawing with, that's the guy with the little umbrella at the bus stop, right?
No, you're thinking of My Neighbor Totoro.
Sure. Sorry, real quick. I'm sorry to bring it back to Family Guy, but like for a side note, real quick. I did look up. It says in July 2019, McFarlane confirmed that there will be a Family Guy movie. Back in 2007, that's when he first announced that they may start working on it. And since then, there's been like 2012, McFarlane confirms plans to produce a Family Guy film. The project was put on hold when McFarlane worked on Take Two. 2008, they announced a live action / animated film based on the series.
Live action.
In 2019, McFarlane confirmed there will be a family. So it will be coming.
That whole theater will smell like Axe body spray. That's the only type of people I see going to see a Family Guy movie in theaters. That is a place I will not nor will ever want to be.
I like Family Guy still, but I don't love it, so I don't know if I'd go watch a movie.
Yeah,
A
I don't
family
feel I don't
movie.
feel like it'd be worth sitting in a theater for. I mean, one of the reasons I did love Bob's Burgers so much was I actually didn't like care for it when it first started. And I think it was my sister who started watching it more and more, and she's like, they're kind of like really sarcastic and monotone characters. She's like, you'll really like them. They're like you. And I was like, well, what the hell? Like mildly offended. And I watched it. I'm like, all right, yeah, this definitely does sound like some shit I would do. So I was able to connect with the show. And like with Family Guy, it is the fleeting references, constantly moving, and just like nobody talks like that. Nobody's constantly like doing like flashbacks in their own lives. And the Simpsons don't do that. Bob's Burgers doesn't do that. Like a lot of other animation shows, don't. They're able just to continue on one plot line. And again, I think that's why I like Bob's Burgers movie so much, is because I think originally it was supposed to go like The Simpsons, where eventually, the seasons afterwards follow the movie. But this one, I guess because of the pandemic, they were able to have one solid plot line into that movie, and it probably will continue, outward. So you have a nice, clean, like line for once. And again, with a lot of animations, you don't get that. You have them jumping the shark, some them doing insane things. They want to show off the budget they have, they want to show off the style they have. Even with the singing and dancing in these movies, that is totally part of like what Bob's Burgers is, because they do that a lot in the show, especially like Linda. She's just constantly singing all the time, and that sometimes
I'll
annoys
give
me.
it to John Roberts though. He actually has like a pretty decent, like it's keeping up the Linda voice, but she still sounds pretty decent, like a decent singing voice. It's pretty good.
The guy who does Tina Belcher, Dan Mintz, he was originally trying out for Gene, and they're like, your voice, do you want to actually do for Tina? And he's like, they asked me to do a 13-year-old girl. He's like, that was a little hit to my self-esteem. But hey, it was a paycheck.
I
He's
mean,
like,
he's
I
not
didn't
the
think
first. They did the same thing with Dr. Girlfriend in Venture Brothers, where I think that voice actor was going for something else, and then they were like, "Now it'd be funny if you were like the main the main love interest of the supervillain."
well,
And so they made him like the voice of Dr. Girlfriend, and his voice sounds nothing like a woman's voice, but that's the joke.
yeah, from what I recall, he's like, they're like, oh, we like what you're doing with your voice. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I was just talking. He's like, I was using this is my voice. People are always like, oh, you're still doing the Tina voice. He's like, no, this is just how I sound. And I connect with that on a level, because sometimes we're like, what's when I drop my the voice I present, because I actually have a very sarcastic monotone voice. And people think I'm being sarcastic when I'm not. It's just how I sound sometimes. Although I feel like even when I add affliction, I still sound sarcastic sometimes, which is again the whole theme of this show. It's the dry humor, the sarcastic tone. And there was even an episode where Louise got stuck in they get stuck in a lot of like underground areas. There was another one where she got stuck in an underground area, and Bob was like, is there any way you can climb up? And she's like, oh, there's some ladders and chairs and ropes. I can climb my way out. And he's like, do you really want your last words to be sarcastic? And she's like, no. I was like, in my final moments, I hope I am sarcastic.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Because that'll make people just be like, oh, so you got it then. All right, well, I'm just gonna leave. It's just like, you don't need my help. Clearly, you got it.
No, I want to go down on sarcastic or petty. That's how I'm gonna go down. What over? Well, I guess is there any like other scenes that like hit you guys pretty well, or like anything we were thinking about this movie that kind of drew you in?
Not that I can think of. Just
Not that we haven't said already.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Carney song. Carney song was good.
I like how they involve the Carneys more, because throughout the seasons, they do talk about how the Carneys helped establish their town. And they didn't really have any other Carneys involved other than Mickey. And Mickey was one of the criminals that the kids associate with. And again, these kids associate with a lot of criminals. And so it was interesting. I liked how they brought in the actual Carneys, because it's like I said, been said in the show that the Carnies helped establish the town, and Wonderwharf has always been such a big part of the town. There's been times they try to take it down, and then they show that like, yeah, Wonderwharf was actually built, on top of the original one where it was supposed to be all welcoming, and an education. It was even supposed to be educational where people could come and like learn. And I like that little history that they were able to put in for the town, because the town is its own character in Bob's Burgers. Because you know about this, you're like, about these little areas, and it's not a dangerous town, but it's also weirdly not like a small town. It's a very much like a seafront or an oceanfront town, where they want to go to the main, to the bigger, or the island to where the rich people live, and with their way of Wonder Wharf connected into this movie. I did like how they had that story of like how the fish owner's father actually built it, and they had mentioned their father before only because they'll look at Bob's arms and be like, they're like, we could let you get away with a lot of stuff, Bob, because your arm hair reminds us of our father. And they're like, it's so thick and burly. They're like, are you an immigrant, Bob? And he's like, no. He's like, And they'll stare at Bob's arms for a long time because he's so hairy. So I like that little peek into the past, like with Bob's mom as well. And I thought it was really sweet how they made that connection with Louise too, and her little rabbit ears, and also how like she ended up this story. She thought about being scared in kindergarten with the bunny ears, needing the bunny ears as a comfort blanket, and realizing, oh, it wasn't because I was scared, it's because my parents thought I was brave. And then also the mom just had extra yarn, because it also reminds us that we put in a little more stock sometimes into things we have received that wasn't always needed to be.
Also, that joke or that point that the guy made at the end, he's like, so what I'm hearing is that you've had that same head size since you were in
That was
kindergarten.
funny.
Yes, I love
Some people are born with a perfect size head, okay?
When he said, like, my sister hit me, she's like, oh my god, I never thought about that, because it even shows like flashbacks where she's wearing her ears, and I was like, I didn't think about that. Has she just been the same size since like kindergarten? They need to take her to like a doctor now or something, because again, she is small for like her character.
Skull's not growing.
Nothing to her. She's just like,
maybe
tiny.
it's a stretchy fabric. Maybe this fabric is stretchy.
I don't know. Like, you guys seen that Lifetime movie of the lady who's like stuck, looking like she's basically like 12 years old, but she's like in her 20s.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Well, that was like an old one. I think she's like now in her 30s. Christian has a small head. Christian, my sister, you can literally palm her head. Like, it's like you can like a basketball, you can palm it perfectly. Like, she has a perfect.
I'm assuming you've done this before.
Oh yeah, like when we're just hanging out, I'll just put my hand on her head.
Yeah.
Because like when somebody has a good size of a head that you can properly like palm it, you do it. You just do it because it's like you can.
Perfect size.
Yeah, there's like certain things you just do. But yeah, no, that was one of my favorite jokes. Also, her holding the tooth all the time. She had that dead man's tooth, and it was so gross. That was. But nasty. I was like, I think I would probably do that.
When the teeth fell in her mouth, that was gross.
So gross. I did not expect them to actually do that.
Yeah, that was super gross.
Yeah.
I thought she swallowed it for a second, but luckily she did not, or she vomited. Right. I don't know what.
Did you I guess my last thing that I wanted to mention, did you guys watch the after credit scene? I did not.
I did not either. I didn't think there was one, and I was like, nope, I'm going home.
Nowadays, you can't trust movies nowadays. Everybody's trying to follow the Marvel formula or the after credit scene formula. And so you can't, you think this movie's not going to have an after credit scene, but it does, as we've learned from working at a movie theater. But it did have a short after credit scene with Tina and Jericho riding on horseback. It's like it's a continuation of that scene in the movie earlier. So it doesn't have anything to do with like a setup for a sequel or for the show or anything.
I did like how her fantasy kept like actually revealing stuff to her, and she's like, "Why are you being so mean?" He's like, "You imagined me. This is all you. Like this has nothing to do. This is you."
Yeah, that was like interesting. When she's like, "Go away, fantasy." He just pushes him. He's like, "Ah." So you okay? No, I'm fine. I'm like, he's not real. He's not there.
You still care when you injure your face. That was great. He's like, why are you being so difficult? Because you're making me difficult. I'm your fantasy. Well, why am I making you difficult? Because you're thinking these thoughts. I like how they broke that like fourth wall, because it's having that argument. I argue with myself all the time. And I feel like now I should just imagine other people, but then I feel like that's gonna make me crazy. So not the best way. But Jericho was a horse. She's so obsessed with horses. I don't like horses. I want to try riding one. I haven't ridden one ever.
No one will ever be more obsessed with horses than that Dimension 20 D&D campaign with Katya Cleaver. She loves horses.
I'm gonna agree with you and move on from that.
Listen, my grade for this is definitely a B plus. I think it's all right. I think it's good. It's very cute. I think it just drags in that middle portion, and it's really just because it's like it feels like they just drag out certain things because they need this movie to like be movie length. Because the movie's like an hour 42 minutes, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's some minutes you could shave off, but at the same time though, it's really fun. The dry wit is pretty solid. There are a lot of jokes that I laughed at, or a lot of just gags that are just in the background that I laughed at. Like when the carnies are just fighting in the background as like bitches talking to these kids, and you're just like, what's going on back there? So it was, also, Alex, you could tell me this. Isn't it a running joke that like the retail space right next to Bob's Burgers is always something different?
Yeah. And they also have like different signs too. Can't think.
It was a funeral. It was a funeral home.
No, that on the side there's
the
funeral
other
home. There is a funeral home
the other
on
side?
the left side, and it's Mort's. Mort is another customer and friend of theirs. He runs that funeral home cremation, and the other side is a constant like changing of different stores. Every opening they have, that's the thing that changes. And it's just different spaces that are rented out, and they have like puns for names and things like that. So yeah, that is a long running joke.
But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't know if this is like something I'd watch over and over again, but it definitely was a good time, you know. And also, this movie's actually pretty decent. You can bring your kids to watch this too. Like it's not too like adult. So it's not so adult that you can't bring the kids, but it's not so kiddie that adults can't enjoy it either. So it's good.
When I was at the theater, it was all adults, like everybody.
Well, yeah, because Bob's Burgers, kids aren't really staying up to watch Bob's Burgers.
We went out like 6 p.m. Kids are still awake. What about your final thoughts?
Yeah, but they're waiting for Family Guy or something. I don't know.
I don't even think kids like that show nowadays. I don't know what's keeping that show on the air. I genuinely can't figure out. Other than like
people are into the pop culture references and stuff. Same reason South Park's still on. It's like it's relevant. It stays relevant.
Yeah, but like South Park, I hate it. I do not like that show whatsoever. But I will give credit where credit is due, and they do talk about real issues. Family Guy does not do that. Family Guy
they've had episodes about trans. I mean, they make really bad jokes,
right?
They do talk about a lot of topics that come up.
But it's still not like I only can. Yeah, I don't know what demographic anymore is holding that show. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why it's still there. What about your final thoughts, Jonathan?
So I would also like to give it a B+ as well. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought the animation was great. Visually, it was so cool to look at. I'd never really seen animation like that before, and I've seen the animation on the show and how the movie just upped it, which was really cool to see that combination of kind of like some elements were 3D, a hint of CGI in there, but for the most part, it stayed true to like its original format. Just could tell there was some more budget put into it. Also, like I mentioned, my main downside is that that scene in the clubhouse. It went on a little too long. Other than that, we did mention that some of the scenes or some of the elements of it seemed a little long-winded, but overall I thought the movie was like, it went by super fast. I was like, wow, it's done already. And I think that's usually a good sign for me, because when something drags on, I'm just like, okay, can this be over now? So I was happy that I walked out of it thinking, I want some more of this, and I can get some more of it by watching the show. But
you're probably also not gonna watch the show.
Hey, watch. I'll come back in like a
lie to me.
Jonathan,
I'll talk to you in a couple months.
Just be real, all right? You're not gonna watch this show.
Watch me now. Okay, now it's a challenge.
No, don't give me false hope. Because
it's the same thing with Arcane. It's like, Jonathan, you gonna come up and watch? Sure. I
no, but
see
that
myself maybe going back and watching it. You ain't gonna
that
watch
was for
Arcane.
that was for the purpose of the podcast.
Haha.
But this
so exactly this is the exact same thing. You are not gonna go back and watch this show.
Between this and Arcane,
that is fair. One? No, that is a great point there. There is more value to one than the other, so I will give you that, Jonathan. All right, no, I believe in you now.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Y'all gonna give Arcane the respected service.
Arcadia was a fine show, but we just need to move on from it. Yes. What else?
Very random note. The theater that I went to, I've been to this Cinemark a couple times, and this was the first time. It was Theater 1, and the theater, it was like the theater was long. And it had the reclining seats, which I love. But it was the theater, the seats were like this. Not the seats themselves, but the rows. Like they were like this. Like, so you enter right here. This is the door. This is the screen. This is one row. This is another row. This is another row.
For those who are just listening, he's describing it as you come in from the top of the slope of the theater.
Yeah, it slopes down, and then it slopes down and then comes back up. So the front row. So like I was seated just in like the third to last row, and I was looking up at the screen, and the first rows ahead of me were like upward, if that makes sense. It was so weird, but I kind of liked it because I was like laying back and watching up rather than looking down. So that's just all I have to say about that. It was just an interesting observation that I noticed. Yes. And I've never been in that type of theater before. So
that still sounds like confusing. Even visually seeing you, it's still hard to vision it myself. But
yeah. No, Alex, what are your final thoughts?
I give this movie an 8, but like it was said before, because the cult class, it's a cult following now, and I'm one of the members. And it's a comforting show, and it's nice and it's simple, and they never try to go like too far where you're just like, oh, like why are you doing this? Also another thing, and I just thought about this, without the pop culture reference, because the Simpsons do that too. They used to have the pop culture references. They don't anymore. They're like, oh, whatever presidents is of this time, they'll say little things like, hit my mic. They said little things like that. They don't do that in this show. They don't bring up, what's going on TV, what's going around in the world or stuff like that. So it's like you could go back and watch this movie and not have to like wonder, oh, who are they talking about? Oh, what movie are they talking about? You don't have to like think about the time frame. It can just be any time frame, really, because they don't even use modern technology that much either, like computers, cell phones, things like that. And that's another thing I liked, where it's not like the kids are constantly on their phones, they're actually outside doing stuff, or the parents, aren't, looking up stuff online and being like, oh, I read this. They're just being involved in their children's lives. The Bob's Burgers, the movie, I enjoyed just so much because it kept that same vibe of the show, where it was definitely this family just trying to do their best. And even though they had each individual issue, they were still so willing to put that aside to help one another. And especially when Louise did have this traumatic event, a dead body fell on her. She is still a child, and teeth fell into her mouth. Yeah, and teeth fell in her. That's a traumatic moment, even if you're an adult. Everything stopped, and it was just like, look, this happened to you. What do we need to do? And even though it kind of seemed insane that they're like, she's like, all right, I have to go after this murderer. So like her siblings and everybody was like, yeah, we'll do it. We don't understand why you need to do this, but like, we're gonna do it with you. Yeah, and them just introducing the little characters, even if it was like a little wink, like with Sergeant Bosco. He didn't really play a major role, but he was there. They kept their like side characters and smaller characters so much to the TV show that I was like, yes, they're not just some weird, they're not trying to jump the shark, they're not trying to make anything strange. They were just trying to make a movie of the show, and that's what they did. And I think this is one of the better, versions of that, of trying to make a movie from the show, because so many, like, I complain with The Simpsons, there's no lead up, and they had this big whole thing where they were going from state to state to state, and it was a whole new plot line stuff. But this was really involving the family, involving their town, involving Wonder Wharf and the fish owners and all the major characters, and that were like, this is important, and it's always been important. And I would go back and watch this movie because I think it's cute, and I still am thinking about Louise's head and if it's still the same size from like kindergarten. Because I will say I look exactly like I did when I was a kid, so I wonder now about my size of head.
I'm telling you now, your head is bigger than your head when you were a child.
I don't know. My whole facial structure is still the same, though.
Yeah, your facial structure is gonna stay the same, but your head's a different size.
Like, have you ever seen those kids that like totally look different from when they're little? You can't recognize them. I'm the exact opposite. I literally just look like I had some years and weight put on me, and the like
same. I look exactly like I did when I was a kid, and Jonathan too. You've seen pictures of baby Jonathan.
Baby Jonathan. I've seen baby Jonathan. No, child Jonathan. Yes. You're like toddler and infancy stage. We're different from your child.
That's true. I think we all look different when we were babies, right?
No, I still had this
virtually. Yeah.
I still weirdly had the same look and expression. Don't touch me, which I'm still proud that I hold that now. But going back, this movie's just, I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun going with the people I went with. The little jokes, the characters, everything. It felt like a movie that was just something I'm definitely going to go back to and reference. And the animation, it was not over the top. It was not crazy. It just showed that they finally had the budget that I would love to see the way the show looks constantly like this, but I know it's not going to. And just the cleaner lines, and they didn't have the cartoony fake world, which I really enjoy with this show, that they're like, it's very realistic. If a character gets hurt, they're going to get hurt. Like they're not going to pop back up. They're like, I'm down.
Right. They're not going to squish like a tomato.
Especially with the poor dad, he gets hurt so much. And like they pointed out, he's like a middle-aged man with a belly, and he's running and trying to like stop like an explosion from happening. And Louise is like, oh, I'm going to do it. He's like, no, I got it. They're like, Dad, do you though? Like,
that's what I loved about Hey Arnold, bringing it back to 90s Nickelodeon, even though it was never brought there in this episode, but I'm bringing it back. But that's what I loved about Hey Arnold, in the same vein, is that it was realistic. And this kind of gives me like grown up Hey Arnold vibes, because they're like in a city similar to that. And, everything's like,
I think
there's no gimmicks in that. So in that,
and like Hey Arnold and a lot of 90s cartoons, they're also lower income families. So a lot of people can more relate to, because like, even though The Simpsons are always talking about being broke, they live in like a house where each child can have their own bedroom with multiple bathrooms, multiple cars. They're actually pretty well off. there's the constant fear of having things repossessed, going bankruptcy, losing home, like everything. So it's like I feel like this has the 90s vibe where it's that real fear of like I'm gonna lose everything, and I do rely on my paycheck. And it's not the cartoon world where all of a sudden you see next scene they're buying a spaceship out of nowhere. It just so like that's one of the things I just love about the show. Yeah, it does have a 90s vibe to it.
It does, yeah. I can
yeah.
see that.
So I would definitely recommend this. I think this is an A and something I'm definitely gonna go rewatch because I am a fan.
Well, that is it for our review of the Bob's Burgers movie. Woo. Don't know what that was.
I make hand gestures for the audio listeners. I am partaking in the merriment.
Nice.
That's the type of voice that I'm talking about when I say shit like that.
Alex, where can we find you?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on TikTok and Instagram, where I post mainly photos of cheddar. I am currently now working on some digital art and graphic design as I am trying to move into that field. So I will actually have another Instagram up soon-ish with those works. So I will let you guys know, and hopefully you can come and support me there. I also handle the TikTok account for the podcast, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of this, audio clips as well. And, you know, just normal day of my life of when I'm editing and working on things as well related to the podcast. I would love for you guys to stop by that TikTok account, interact with me, because, you know, it's always nice to have something to avoid doing what you're supposed to be doing. Procrastination. What about you, Jonathan? Where are we finding you?
Yes, you can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Find me there because I won't be here for the time being. It's a little it's a hiatus, but I'll be back soon enough.
I'm about to say you're saying it like, yes, I've been fired from The First Ones to Die. Just so y'all know,
I'll just be gone for a minute. Like, don't worry about it. You won't just see me for a while. Maybe again sometime.
But Alex and Jerome have graciously agreed to hold down the fort. So
what were we gonna do? Tell you no?
Ain't no leaving this, okay? There is only the podcast. All right, now if you want to leave, the only way you go into it is in a pine box.
See, again with the dead references. But while you're on your hiatus, where are they finding you, Jonathan?
Yes, at Jonathan Keys.
I like. Hey, do your thing. If you're leaving
on
us
Twitter,
for a while,
I already did it on
did
Twitter. Yeah, that's why I said find me there because I won't be here. On Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please.
Thank you.
Yes, you can find us at The First Ones to Die on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of the fun things. Email us thefirstones2die@gmail.com. We'd love to get your emails. And Jerome, where can they find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram, as well as at Robozu Media and at Jerome_the_show for all the other creative things I am working on. In regards to The First Ones to Die as a whole, if you want to get in touch with us, find out what we got going on, or see some extra content, you can follow us at The First Ones to Die on all of our social medias, includes the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitters, all that good stuff. And for extra content, go to The First Ones to Die YouTube channel. That's where you can find all types of extra stuff like book reviews, mini reviews, vlogs, gaming content, all types of stuff, and recorded versions of all of the podcast. And also in regards to our Instagram, you may have seen recently we posted on TikTok as well a call for some people who want to be guests on the podcast. So if you know anybody who wants to be a guest on the podcast, or if you yourself want to be a guest on the podcast, just email us at thefirstones2die@gmail.com or send us a DM on our social medias, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. Just know that we do expect you to have your own recording equipment. So that's a given. And B, that it's to be, we're a pop culture podcast. So hopefully you'll have something you want to talk about. So provide us with also a topic that you might want to talk about. when you're a guest on our podcast, whether that be a movie review or a show review, or maybe you just want to talk about something in general, like how we've done our episodes on fandom or things like that. So comment below. When you send us that DM or email, tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll see if we can fit it in.
And we promise Jonathan it will be coming back.
Yeah,
like the way we say things sometimes makes it. Jonathan will be coming back. He'll be gone for like a month ish.
Yeah, about a month, a short hiatus. So you've waited longer for the season of Stranger Things, so you can wait for me.
The Witcher too. Like everything. Y'all waited for a lot of stuff. Everybody be patient. But until with that being said, everybody have a good.
Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
But you're used to your line. I have to start doing this now.
There we go.
With that being said, y'all have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.